guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I thought I would do a bit more of a positive video relating to guide dogs because the last one was a bit of a difficult one for me to film, and I thought today I would do a video answering some of the most commonly asked questions I get asked about guide dogs as a guide dog owner. I've got Unity here with me to help me today. She's still recovering from her surgery that she had because she was attacked by a dog. I'll link the last video I filmed about that below, but suffice it to say she's still relaxing, so we're both taking some time out, so I thought we would make a video together about that, because when I'm out with Unity, a lot of people ask me a lot of different questions about guide dogs and, you know, how they work, how they're trained, and I thought I would answer some of the most commonly asked questions I get asked about guide dogs. So that's what we're going to do today. So we're going to jump straight on into it, and we're going to answer some questions before Unity gets the hump and jumps off the bed like she usually does halfway through a video. It's convenient though, because you always want to get on my bed any other time, but when I'm in from a video, you're just like, no, I'm leaving, bye. Also, if you are new to my channel and you would like to see more fun videos about guide dogs, don't forget to hit the subscribe button down below, and also don't forget to click the notification bell so that you receive updates when I post new videos. What do you want? Every time we stop stroking you, you get annoyed. I have to have one hand stroking you throughout this entire video. Bless you, bless your little heart. Also, if you would like to see more videos about guide dogs, I do have a playlist which is totally about guide dogs, where I've filmed lots of other videos about guide dogs, which I will link down below as well, including one of my most watched videos, which is the top 10 misconceptions about guide dogs. So I've got the questions here on my phone. I've written down the ones that I can recall that I get asked a lot by people when I'm out, and also people on social media. So I'm going to read them out and I'm going to answer each one.
How long does it take to train a guide dog?
So to train a guide dog in the UK, it essentially takes from start to finish around a year and a half. So a guide dog owner will get their guide dog when they are around a year and a half to 2 years old, depending on the dog. So what happens is, from a puppy, so from a very small puppy, I believe it's around 6 to 8 weeks, the puppy is given to a guide dog puppy walker. These are volunteers who will volunteer to bring a potential guide dog puppy into their home. They will socialise the dog, they will teach the dog basic commands, they will take the dog out into lots of different situations to get them used to things like public transport and cafes and restaurants and public areas. And essentially what their job is to socialise them, to train them, to teach them basic obedience commands, and to install a lot of the key skills so that when the dog goes to a guide dog mobility instructor when they are a year old, that they have a well-adjusted, well-behaved, placid and well-natured dog to work with. And then what happens is the guide dog mobility instructor and the guide dog trainer, there are two people who basically train the dog. So the first one will train them for around 3 months, and then the second one takes over the last part of the training for when they're going to be trained with their potential owner. So how it works is, from a year old, they are taken on by a guide dog mobility instructor who will teach them a lot of the more in-depth commands, like how to cross the road, how to navigate situations, how to find stairs, how to go around obstacles. And then after that they will go on to another guide dog trainer whose job it is to train them with some of the more in-depth things. And as they come to the end of their training, the guide dog trainer will then have a potential candidate in mind who will become their owner. So once they have assessed whether or not the owner is going to benefit from that dog and whether that dog is going to be suitable for them, they will then teach them more specific things tailored to what the owner needs. So in total, from start to finish, it takes around a year and a half. But some guide dogs might need a little bit more time. It all depends on the dog, but the rule of thumb is around a year and a half, but some might take longer.
From what age do you have a guide dog?
You have a guide dog from around the age of a year and a half. So this may differ depending on the circumstances, but the general rule is the guide dog will be trained, and at a year and a half old, the owner will then have that guide dog. But sometimes they may be a bit older, so like for instance around 2 years old if that dog requires more training.
What is the harness for?
So people often ask me, why does she wear a harness and have a lead? So the lead is just basically to hold onto the dog, and you use that in all situations, even when the dog is not working in harness. So for when you're taking the dog for a run to the park, or when you are in a situation where you have taken the harness off, the lead will always be on the dog, unless of course the dog is at home where the lead is not necessary. The harness, however, is a harness that goes around the dog with a handle, and you hold the handle, which is designed for you to be able to be guided by the dog. So people hold the handle so that the dog can guide them, and the dog will navigate them through situations, and that owner will be able to feel where the dog is instructing them to go and feel what the dog is doing through the harness. And also certain commands need to be felt through the harness, through the handle. So that is also another reason why guide dogs wear harnesses with handles.
Are guide dogs allowed to go everywhere?
Are guide dogs allowed to go everywhere? Yes, for the most part. In the UK, under the Equalities Act here in the UK, any guide dog or assistance dog is legally allowed to go into any public place like restaurants, shops, public transport, parks, beaches, essentially anywhere that is open to the public and anywhere that is open for public services. The only places that there are restrictions on are certain parts of hospitals. So for example, if you're visiting someone in an intensive care unit, and other examples would be things like zoos, for example. So in zoos, there are restrictions on where you can bring your dog because of health and safety reasons with the animals. So when I went to, I think it was Colchester Zoo, there were certain areas I wasn't able to visit because I had the guide dog. So a zookeeper looked after the dog whilst I went in there so I could go and see it. But of course, they are completely within their rights to do that, because they have to look after the welfare of not only the guide dog and yourself, but the other animals and the other people. Because if a zoo animal sees a guide dog and gets stressed out, then it could be really dangerous. So there are exceptions in those sorts of places. And other examples would be some factories. So for example, there are certain food factories where you go in now, okay. And other examples would be if you're going on a tour of a food factory or a factory where there's certain machinery. Sometimes they will have to ask you to leave your dog with a member of staff while you go on the tour without them. But essentially what it comes down to is that you are allowed into public places with your dog, and anywhere that there are restrictions, they have to make what is called a reasonable adjustment to meet the needs of your disability. So this could include having someone look after the dog while you use a particular facility, or having some kind of adjustment made so that you can visit or access a place with your assistance dog or guide dog.
Do guide dogs retire?
Yes, they do retire. So here in the UK, the average age that a guide dog retires is around 10 years old. This may vary from dog to dog. So some dogs might retire a bit earlier if they've got particular health concerns, or if it's just felt that it's the right time for them to retire for whatever reason. And some dogs might work a little bit longer. So for example, I know some guide dog owners who have had their dogs work until they're around 11 years old, if they are of good physical health and if they are of a point where it's felt that it will be beneficial for them to work a little bit longer. So it just depends really, but on average it is around 10 years old, but this can vary depending on circumstances.
What happens when the guide dog retires?
When the guide dog retires, this very much depends on a person's circumstances. So guide dogs as a charity do prefer it if the dog can stay with either yourself or a member of family or someone that knows the dog and is very close with the dog, just because it makes that transition period a lot easier and a lot less stressful for the dog. But of course there are situations where a guide dog owner might not be able to have the dog stay with them, or they might not be able to have a member of family or friend look after the dog anymore. So in those situations, a dog will essentially be given to a loving home and they'll be retired with a family who volunteer to look after the dog. And in a lot of situations, the guide dog owner still has a very close relationship with the dog and visits the dog regularly and gets updates on how the dog is doing. And in terms of me, what's going to happen when Unity retires, she's going to stay in a family home, my parents are going to take care of her, and my next dog will probably be living in the same house with her. And that is generally what happens with a lot of guide dogs and their owners, as long as there's a person within the household who is able and prepared to take the dog out for a walk and to give that dog the level of attention that it needs whilst you are working your new guide dog. Then the retired guide dog stays within the family home alongside the new guide dog. Although apparently that causes a lot of FOMO with the old guide dog, and the old guide dog doesn't like the fact that they're not working anymore. So often a guide dog doesn't like being retired, from what I've been told anyway. So
How much does it cost to train a guide dog?
it costs the charity guide dogs a total of around £50,000 to train the guide dog from start to finish. So this will include the training costs, vet bills, the cost of food. So they do not come cheap. They are not cheap to train. So you can understand why we as owners and why the charity is very strict about their diet, about what things that they can and can't eat, about people distracting them when they're on harness, because they cost a lot of money. And you know, it's very expensive, and guide dogs do not get any government funding. They are totally dependent on the donations and support of the public. When we get that guide dog, we have to make sure that their training and all of their health is kept to a high standard. They are worth every goddamn penny, and I can attest to that, I can tell you.
How long do guide dogs work for?
The guide dogs work for around 8 years, so they tend to be qualified when they're around 1.5 to 2 years, and they work around 8 years, retiring when they're 10, but some may retire early for some reason and some may retire later. So the rule of thumb is 8 years, but some may differ.
How do you deal with the heat with your guide dog?
When you have a guide dog, the heat is absolute hell, because you know, you still need to go out and do things, but you have to be accommodating and sensible where your guide dog is concerned. You can't put their health at risk. You have to be sensible in the hot weather, and sometimes that means making sacrifices or compromises. So when it's hot, you know, you have to assess, is it going to be sensible and feasible for me to take my guide dog out? Is it too hot for me to take my guide dog out? Like the other day when it was like 38 degrees here in the UK, I didn't take her out because it was far too hot. You have to give them plenty of water throughout the day. You have to ensure that they have things like a cooling mat. You have to pay attention to their paws. So a lot of guide dog owners use a balm called Mush's Secret, and it's a paw protecting balm, and it protects dogs' paws from burning in the hot heat. So for example, when they're walking out on the concrete or the asphalt and it gets really hot, they can burn. So I treat her with that particular balm every other day, and you can also use it when it's cold as well. It's a really good balm, actually. I'd really recommend it. It's like a Vaseline for a dog's paws. It's brilliant. And you also have to groom the dog regularly, because of course in the heat the dog will shed quite a lot of excess fur, and getting rid of all that excess fur through grooming really does help to prevent the heat being trapped in the fur. So it's just being sensible and ensuring that you put the dog's needs before your own in that situation. It is difficult, but it is manageable. You just have to do a lot of things to ensure that the dog's kept comfortable and well in the hot weather.
What are the breeds used for guide dogs?
So here in the UK, the most commonly used breeds are Labradors, Golden Retrievers, Labrador, Golden Retriever crosses as well. A lot of the time they like to mix those two together quite a lot. And we also use Labradoodles for people who've got allergies, and as well as that, German Shepherds. Although German Shepherds are not as common and as prevalent as they once were. In fact, when the charity guide dogs in the UK was first established back in the 40s, the most commonly used breed was German Shepherds, because in Germany, German Shepherds were used to train as guide dogs for blinded veterans after the war, but now they are not as common as they once were. The most commonly used breed is a Labrador, because Labradors are very easy to train. They're very calm and placid, and they respond very well to food as an incentive, and that means it's really easy to train them. So those are the 4 breeds that we mainly use in the UK. I don't think we use any other breeds apart from those ones, but if you have come across a guide dog that is a different breed to the ones I've mentioned, then do comment down below, because I would love to know.
How long does it take to train with a guide dog?
It takes around 4 weeks to train with a guide dog. Once you have been matched with a guide dog, then what happens is you are then given training. So what usually happens is guide dogs will give you 2 weeks residential training. So you'll go to a residential place, so usually a hotel or a residential training centre, and you will train with the dog there for 2 weeks with a group of other guide dog owners who are also training with guide dogs. And then for the next 2 weeks after that, you will then train in your local area to get you familiar with using the dog in your local area. In my case, my training was all done at home, so the 4 weeks training that I did was all done at home, and the reason for that was because I had just finished my A-levels and I had missed the cut-off point to do the residential training because I was still doing my exams at that point. So it was agreed that I would do the training all from home, which was great because it meant that I was able to train with her all in my local area. But that is generally how long it takes. It takes around 4 weeks. And lastly,
can guide dogs read the bus numbers?
No, guide dogs cannot read bus numbers. I only had it the other day. I had it about 2 weeks ago. A woman comes up to me and goes, "Can she read the bus numbers?" And I'm like, no, I'm afraid not. They cannot read bus numbers, okay? So just get that one out of your head. They're clever, but they're not that clever. So that concludes today's video today, guys. I really hope you enjoyed it and you found it interesting and you found it useful to know a bit more about guide dogs and what they do and how they work. If you would like me to do another one of these in the future, then let me know some questions and I will happily do more Q&As. Or if you've got more ideas for guide dog related videos I can do in the future, then please do let me know, because I really would like to do more videos about Unity on my channel, but I would just need your ideas. Let me know what you want me to do and I will try and make it happen. Thanks for watching this video and I will see you all in my next one. Bye guys!